What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. I'm Drew Bosley, that's Scott Savage, and you can join us at InsideTheGame.ca, our YouTube channel at Inside the Game Official, our live fast channel over at Rad TV, and of course, other TV streaming platforms around the globe, like Amazon Prime, or Jinx Esports TV, ESTV, Samsung Plus. The list just keeps going on and on. But if you want to download us into your eardrums, you can do that as well, thanks to our friends at Fired Up Network. We're there across 212 platforms, just like Spotify, SoundCloud, and all of those as well. Scott, there's a lot to talk about today. What's on the show?
There is. We're going to recap the Xbox Partners preview that happened yesterday. There's a lot of things on that, and including some special information about Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, man.
Metal Gear Solid is a huge topic now, and I cannot be happier. That collector's edition dropped, and I'm right back in. But we move on from that to Alan Wake post-launch and some of the new Game Plus details that have come to light. And lastly, we have Connie Booth, an update on that situation and the whole debacle going on.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. We'll talk about that. But Scott, how is Metal Gear 1 going for you?
Oh, it's so nice to be back. It feels really clunky, but It has all the same memories that I thought I had lost over 20 years.
It's just such an iconic game, right? And this is what changed my whole outcome on video games and spun me into this whole industry. But it's, dude, such a pivotal moment to go back into with the classic of Metal Gear 1. I'm looking forward to getting into more, that's for sure. But right now, let's get into it. It's the Xbox preview event. Let's check it out. Scott, we got an event out of Xbox yesterday called the Xbox Partners Preview, and we're going to recap it today because in case you missed it, well, you missed some pretty cool stuff. Kick things off with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth coming on January 26, 2024. Scott, your notes say super weird life sim, Animal Crossing thing.
Yes, super weird in a very respectful manner. This is Like a Dragon Yakuza, of course.
Yeah.
It gets a little silly.
A little is an understatement. Yeah, I've never been in the Yakuza realm when it came to those games. They're just a little too out there for me. I know Brad loves them a lot, actually.
I think I'm really appreciating the life sim aspect to it, actually, because I've looked at Persona and really wanted to play Persona all these years.
Nice.
So it kind of has an attraction there. I'm curious.
Dude, I want to play Akero Will Not Die. This is the team that worked on Velocity, which is a fantastic, incredible game. This is an action arena shooter. It looks like it was teased. It was a teaser trailer yesterday. I actually have the reveal, and there's a little tidbit I want to pull in because, yeah, it's got quite the debut. Debuting today at Xbox Partner Preview, the game's new trailer offers a first look at Ikaru's exhilarating flow state, gravity surfing movement, and martial arts combat. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you play Velocity, that game is incredible, which makes me super excited to get into this one next. Dude, I can't wait to play, Scott. This is going to be a blast.
Oh, that little description there reminds me of Sunset Overdrive, maybe without all the grinding, but yeah, I loved that game so much.
I think we're going to be in for a good time. There's no release date on that one yet, so we'll kind of keep our ears to the ground and see what we can get into. Then we had Still Wakes the Deep, early 2024, high-end graphical first person, lots of tight spaces and water, and horror themes. That was definitely one for you and Steve.
Absolutely. The idea of being in these tiny crawl spaces and then water. Oh, nope. That's a nightmare.
Nope, no thanks. RoboCop was teased in there as well, coming on November 2nd. The story teaser, a ton of shooting and explosions. Dude, it is RoboCop. I've seen people like this. I feel RoboCop is going to be somewhere in around like the 7s when that comes out. I think people are going to have a good time, but it's not going to like be the, oh man, you need to play this. But if you have, I'm curious if they price it right? If this doesn't come in at the whole $80, maybe it's around $40. I think it has a better chance of selling. I think it would be even better if they would have said it's coming to Game Pass.
Oh, I think that's fair. And Game Pass is a great savior for a lot of things that fall into about the 7 zone. But yeah. I'm wondering, is this, I've seen people talk about this being perhaps a third movie. Instead of a third movie, we get a RoboCop game. It's more interactive, but it fits into that groove. But as to your point about the being around a 7, I think it's probably a good guess. But how many times have you watched RoboCop over and over and over.
Not
Probably
many.
not very often.
No, it was definitely not one of my go-to. Dude, I played RoboCop way back on like I believe it was on the NES back in the day.
Oh, I haven't seen those games.
Oh man, it was something else back then. But yeah, it was cool. We had fun back then. But dude, I was so old now. I wouldn't mind checking this out though. It looks like it's fun, but over a course of a weekend sort of thing. Speaking of Game Pass, Scott, Dungeons of Hinterberg is coming to Game Pass in 2024. Absolutely gorgeous color and lines, action platform or RPG. A couple question marks. My one takeaway, dude, was the dialogue. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. I'm like, oh, don't do that. I would rather have nothing. Just pop up the dialogue. Let me read the dialogue. I hate that. Bloop, 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 bloop. The Animal Crossing one's even worse.
Not a fan of Banjo-Kazooie then?
No, man.
Oh, it's so good.
No, nobody wants that. Oh, man. It looks great, though. Dude, I want to play this one. This looks like a ton of fun. I think it looks super cool.
Absolutely blew me away. And again, we're getting into some of those life sim aspects, some relationships with the villagers, but just the absolute look to that game pulls me in. I don't know what to call that art style, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's kind of got this neon comic books style to it. You know what I mean?
Almost an anime, but almost a pen and ink kind of.
Yeah, almost hand drawn kind of thing.
Incredible color.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. And then a fox comes across the screen. Spirit of the North 2. Dude, I am pumped. This looks like a great platformer with your crow and your fox, and you guys work together. I think this is gonna be an absolute charmful game. This looks like a blast. Gorgeous looking.
I imagine you're going to be getting into that very quickly. As soon as I saw the red fox, I know. Yep.
Yeah. And then one of the biggest games, hopefully we'll see sooner than later, but it was the first gameplay teaser. Metal Gear Solid, Scott, made its debut gameplay teaser trailer at an Xbox showcase. Take that to note, right? Let's get into it, because we got a full article here from Andy Robinson over at BGC. Konami debuts first in-engine look at Metal Gear Solid 3's remake. That's right. The remake will run on Unreal Engine 5, and damn does it look good. The footage debuted during an Xbox partner preview live stream on Wednesday and offered the first glimpse of gameplay running on Unreal Engine 5. First revealed during a PlayStation showcase earlier this year, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, well, Delta Snake Eater, will release on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Konami describes the title as a, quote, a faithful remake, end quote. A new generation of players and loyal fans alike can experience the origin story of the famed Big Boss and witness how his legend was forged in the crucible of Operation Snake Eater, it said. Konami has confirmed that neither Hideo Kojima nor Kojima Productions is involved in Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I am still torn on how to feel about that one. Snake, Metal Gear, but without the involvement of Kojima, is it really Metal Gear? Well, this is a remake, so sort of.
So can they screw it up, right? I think after seeing, dude, what we saw though, I was like, yo, that's the bridge. That bridge is, I've been looking at actually getting it tattooed on my arm. Right? Yeah. Originally when I started, so I have Snake on my arm, right? And all this stuff and all, it's all Metal Gear. And the idea was to put it here or right on the back of my arm. And that bridge scene, I was like, yo, that is, yeah. And I just never got back to it.
You're not going to get the ladder? Let's get the ladder on my back and we just don't do the top.
No. But it looks great. What did you think of Snake, though? You get that one look at him. I was like,
Yeah, I was caught up in the hair and the very fine details. I was getting wooed by the Unreal Engine.
Yeah. Dude, when he comes up with the camo suit and he's just drenched in mud, I was like, oh man. We're going to be blending into
incredible.
Doesn't it? Like, there's going to be so much to blend into. That Snake Eater at the time was just pivotal for camo, right? How do you get in there with the camouflage? You sneak through the grass, popped up in first person, dude, when he came out with the handgun. I was like, yeah, this is going to be, I cannot wait.
Actually, it reminds me of Ghost Recon, the breakpoint when we played very first time and you could bury yourself in the mud.
Yeah.
That's something I want to see Snake do because it just sounds so fun.
Definitely a lot of hype around this title, but take note, right? a cinematic trailer was revealed to PlayStation. Xbox had the gameplay, well, in-engine look at the game, right? So we actually get to see what we're playing. That was just a cinematic before. This is actually in-engine, and it looks fantastic. It's just a nice little shift going from PlayStation to Xbox, which is normally, you know, when you think of Metal Gear, I often think PlayStation. So
now I'm not certain. There's a detail that I'm not sure about. Is this involve David Hayter, or does it involve the original voice lines? I'm not sure what the end result of that was.
No, yet. That's one of the things we're definitely waiting on. So time will tell. How much will they add to the game? Will they just not add anything, and they're just making the remake and using those voice lines of the past?
I would absolutely. I'm going to have to reach out to David Hayter, actually, because I would definitely love to talk really anything, but specifically this, of course.
Absolutely, you should check in with him and see how that goes. But yo, Metal Gear looks incredible. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. After that came Manor Lords, got PC Game Pass, April 26, 2024, console later. It's a city builder in a medieval setting. What do you think of that one?
That actually looks really cool to me. It reminds me of going medieval, but a little bit less colony and more city, which is nice. That sounds like something I've really hunger for.
The Finals and open beta is out now, so you can take a look at that. Ark Survival Ascended is coming soon. It's actually out on PC, coming soon to consoles in November. Coming to consoles. I know people are a little bit upset about that one, but they're working on upgrading it to Unreal Engine 5, which then kind of gives the whole game a whole new feel, which is very cool.
If you know anything about Ark, you're going to be glad they did take some time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was a rough start.
That was a rough couple of years, I think.
And then they ended off with Alan Wake 2, out October 27th, dude, just tomorrow. So yeah, look for that. I think reviews are dropping today. Unfortunately, we did not get our code, but we might jump in still. Either way, that looks super cool. What's your take?
Added to my backlog for sure. But there's a huge amount of games still coming out to this day, or to this week, we'll say. But overall, I thought this was a pretty good showing. I really didn't go in with much expectation.
Yeah.
And I didn't know much to expect. Of course, Xbox partners preview. Okay, well, this isn't exactly first party, sure. But getting in, I was very happy to see a lot of these different titles come down. And Hinterberg specifically, I'm in.
Nice. I'm surprised.
RoboCop, just a little bit of a tease there. That was good enough. And then Still Wakes the Deep. I didn't realize that was such a horror lean. Ooh, I also didn't realize I have a slight fear of water, I think.
Dude, I thought this is cool. This is a nice take from what Sony's been building with the State of Play, and now we're getting that feel over here on the Xbox side, something we haven't seen at all in forever. So normally it's just a big deep dive or a massive showcase. This was just a 30-minute chunk. Here's some stuff we're working on with our partners. Take a look. And what we saw set up some good stuff, I think, for building towards the future with Xbox and what we can expect moving forward. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. Obviously, this is what we do on a daily basis, but either way, it's one of those things like, yo, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. If this is where they set up with, dude, Metal Gear, Icaro, and all these other games, Spirits of the North 2, like a lot of surprises I wasn't expecting. They did tell us what a little bit we would be seeing, and then they showed us extras, which was nice to see as well. So yeah, this is a good showcase. This is pretty cool. I look forward to seeing more in the future. A nice Xbox State of Play, we'll call it.
Absolutely. While Drew, the Xbox partner preview was not the only place we learned more of Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 will have a new game plus post-launch, including an alternative narrative, new difficulty level, and more. This comes from David Carcassel at PSU, and I am super excited for Alan Wake 2, if you cannot tell. Alan Wake 2 is only days away from launch at the time of writing. We're now 1 day away from release. Soon, they'll be able to find out what happens to Alan Wake next. Excitement for the game is at peak levels, check. And now Remedy Entertainment has announced something that'll get fans even more excited. That being the studio's plans to release New Game Plus sometime post-launch, which will also include an alternative narrative, a new difficulty level called Nightmare, new manuscript pages, and new video content. There's no release date or even a release window provided now. All Remedy says is that, quote, the exact timing is still to be decided. Quote ends, So it might be a bit of a wait while we all enjoy Alan Wake 2 we'll get on Friday. In the meantime, though, it's exciting to know players will have this to look forward to, particularly the alternative narrative bit. That has me super excited. We talked very recently about New Game Plus and how it's not something that you've ever felt inspired to go back and do, but for myself, there's plenty of achievements I've gotten along the way that are reason enough for me to go back, but the idea of a different narrative and a different kind of change to what's going on, different video content to give more of a story, I'm super excited to see how this plays out, because what's going to be divulged in the second time through that's going to make it different.
I think that is the exciting part, right? That's the part that's enticing enough to pull people back around. If you're similar to my play style, you finish up the game, I'm like, yo, I just played that story for hours. I don't need to go back to do it all over again, right? When I see that in the list of achievements or the list of trophies, I bounce. I'm like, I'm not going back for New Game Plus. I've already just finished up the game. I don't need to go back to play the story all over again because I already know what happens, right? I want something fresh, something new, something exciting. This is exciting. This is how you get people to come back for New Game Plus, right? Where they are enticed of, well, what happens here? But the other question, though, now becomes, what becomes canon for Alan Wake 3 when we get it in another 13 years, right? Where do they follow up with that? Which one is the true story? Probably the first ending, right? And then the second ending is just something that's going to be more of is it a side story, you think, Scott? Or is it an actual, like, canon with the main campaign?
Well, because we have two characters, there is the opportunity to kind of explore one story and then end off on the other one. Yeah, and that way kind of preserve what's canon. But it's very interesting to see how that's going to work out because, like you said, there's another game to consider. But I think this will cue it up nicely. At least I hope. There is still the conversation about is Control in the same universe, the Remedy-verse.
Yeah.
And I think they've denied that. However, that's generally how those things work out. But we could just see Alan Wake pop into Control 2 based on this ending. That would still have me excited. The idea of New Game Plus is something that's come up for some reason very recently with Ghost Runner 2 as well.
Yeah.
And I loved that game. There's my surprise. Spoilers for the review. I love that game. But so happy to see it come back with a New Game Plus. And although they're incredibly different games, it's interesting to see that I think New Game Plus is finally starting to work out well.
Yeah, it's no longer just go back to play the game over again with all your powers that you've captured throughout your first experience, right? I just don't feel the need to do that. I like the new spin on this. That here's another storyline that you don't know about yet. Very cool take.
Makes it meaningful.
Scott, we touched on it earlier. Connie Booth has new details revealed as to what happened exactly. Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming. On Monday, it was revealed the longtime PlayStation head of production, Connie Booth, was no longer with Sony. Her exit came after 34 years with the company and seemed to take a lot of people by surprise. Now, after a couple of days of sitting on the news, it appears we have more information on her departure from Sony. According to David Jaffe, the designer known for creating the Twisted Metal and God of War franchises, Booth didn't just leave the company, rather, she was fired. Quote, okay, here we go. So, she was fired, end quote, Jaffe said. Quote, she didn't retire, she didn't quit, she was fired. There was apparently almost no notice, no advanced warning, it just kind of happened, end quote. Jaffe says that he was told that the frustration surrounding PlayStation's pivot to focusing on games of service was blamed on Connie. Quote, nobody can quite figure out how this was Connie's fault, Jaffe said, while mentioning that outgoing Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan was, quote, convinced, end quote, that games of service was the future of gaming. So it should come as a note, take it with a grain of salt, right? This is what Jaffe's heard through sources, but it sounds like, dude, she was just fired for games of service model. That's the whole PlayStation shift. That comes back on her. Interesting.
Yeah, is this just a Fall Guy scenario kind of thing? Jim Ryan taking responsibility, being the head of the company, makes a little more sense than this.
Everybody's trying to capture the next wave, and I think Sony's just a little late to the party here to try and capture some of these games of service models. I get people want to be invested day in and day out and be there on, you know, the next hot topic and what we're gaming on. But like Destiny, they pulled in Bungie, so they have Destiny. But now we're getting fair games. We're getting Marathon out of Bungie as well. Dude, I keep hitting my mic today.
It's not too loud.
My hands are moving. But we see a lot of this shift. Sony's like, yeah, we're gonna have 10 games by 2025, games of service.
That was too many.
What? That's not gonna happen. Half of these games aren't gonna stick around anyways.
That was too many if they were good.
Well, yeah, it is, right? I'm definitely curious to see, like, how does this come into Connie's plate and say, hey, this is all your fault. Now you're fired after 34 years, man. That's it. Top dog, one of the top, you know, employees of the brand is now gone. She's obviously done something well to get to where she is for so long. It's just a bit of a shock out of suddenly now just to blame her on the games of service model, which is dying around the industry, not just on PlayStation's side, everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's already hitting too much critical mass. We already have too much on the plate. I just discovered my sister's super into Destiny 2. Right. I don't know if there's much room beyond Destiny 2 for games of service done quite like that.
There's gotta be something
after
out there
34 years. After 34 years, what are we gonna see for her next? Is this just the exit from the whole industry now? That'd be sad.
It would be sad, right? It'd be pretty disappointing. Or does somebody else pick her up, like an EA? Could use them, or maybe she could figure out what's going on over at Ubisoft. Like, she's definitely, I'm sure, experiencing her phone ringing off the hook right now. It's I'm sure she's talking to a bunch of people, but yeah, definitely curious. So maybe she's like, you know what, after 34 years I'm done too. I don't need any of this. You guys can stuff it and just bounce after that long, right? Maybe she's in a position where she doesn't need to come back, or maybe she's just hungry, Scott, and wants to be back in the industry. I don't know if I can ever let it go, right? Like, this is one of the reasons why I'm here today, because
That's true.
always wanted to be talking about games. It's just one of my passions that I've been able to flip into a career, and it's just what drove me to this position. But dude, I haven't been doing it for 34 years
after 34 years. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm not yet 34 years old.
Oh, ow, oh, that hurts. But it is sad to see that no advance warning. It's just, hey, you're fired. Like, that's just, there's ways to do things, and unfortunately that's just not one of them, right? And it's just unfortunate to see that one of the top people in that position over at PlayStation is like, oh, after bringing in some of the best franchises and games we've ever played. Scott, it looks like the list continues, dude. There's a ton of games out today. What are we playing?
That's right. We have Frog Detective, the entire mystery, on Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, X, and S. I'm very curious about that title.
Not just part of the mystery, the entire mystery, Scott.
I'm going to have to swing back around to solve the mystery on that one.
We'll have to hop back around.
We also have Dave the Diver, Facing My Newly Found Fear, over on the Switch. Mineko's Night Market is now on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, X, and S. Reverse 1999 is on PC, iOS, and Android. Ghost Runner 2 is on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles. We also have a review of that one up live, I must recommend to you. Jury 2 Foundation is on the Pico, the Quest 2, and PlayStation VR 2. Gordian Quest is now on the Switch, and Spin Rhythm XD is also now on the Switch.
Nice, there you go. Dude, I want to check out Journey to Foundation. That one's on PSVR 2. I gotta jump in. And that'll wrap up today's show, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Drew, that's Scott.
And we'll see you inside the game.